Oh, I need a shave. Hello, everyone. I am Neil, aka Ishmelon, and this is the first and introductory episode of a Magic the Gathering Color Pie discussion series I want to do, and I am lovingly titling it Let's Talk Over Pie. Put a little infographic up here. So, I wanted to do this because I've always been super interested in specifically the color pie philosophy that Magic the Gathering uses, and really only mastered part of the way through their history. I've used it a lot personally to help me categorize and sort of analyze. It's helped me really to understand people a lot. It's helped me to analyze characters, stories, and it's simultaneously a really good mental exercise for sort of personal introspection. Is that the right word? Is that a word? Whatever. And sort of making sense of who I am and what I want out of my life. And so I know that immediately, to me, like even writing it, sounds kind of salesman-y. So I'm going to say it right now. This is just for fun. I'm not a psychologist or any sort of licensed professional that would give me any sort of qualifications in any way to give anybody professional life advice. That's not who I am. That's not what I'm here for. This is for fun. This is for entertainment and perhaps a little brain teasing, you know? A little thought experiments. Oh, God. That got too real for a second. Anyway, with all that gobbledygook out of the way, let's begin. So, brief intro. Magic the Gathering is a collectible card game created in 1993 by Richard Garfield, featuring battles between players taking the roles of multiverse traveling planeswalkers and the many creatures and spells that they've encountered through their travels among the planes. These creatures and spells are depicted on cards of the game and are categorized into 5 different colors, with many associating multiple or even no colors at all. These 5 colors are white, blue, black, red, and green. Each one of them focuses on and represents different aspects of not only the world around us, but also the human experience at large. So this is where the color wheel itself comes in and the philosophy that it represents. According to the color wheel, the 5 slices make up the distinct characteristics of every person and every world, just overall. It's important to note that everyone exhibits and experiences aspects of each color every day in pretty much any decision that they might make. The major difference, though, is which colors a given individual tends to live in, so to speak. Each person continually is making decisions in line with a certain color or multiple colors, more than others, in line with what their general personality would probably lean towards. That's not to say that anyone completely abandons one color any more than they could completely abandon a piece of themselves. So let's examine this color wheel a bit closer, just for a visual standpoint. It looks pretty simple on the surface, and it kind of is. This is the part of the video where I put up a graphic of the color wheel that hopefully wasn't made in MS Paint. Each color has 2 colors that are adjacent to it and 2 colors that are opposite of it. So those colors adjacent are considered their allied colors. Their ideologies often overlap or mesh together pretty well. And the ones across from each other are considered enemies. So for example, red down, it's here, right here. Red, right there, sees green and black as its allies. Being next to each other, they're often going to see things eye to eye, whereas blue and white, blue, and white. I'm new to this. This is awesome. Blue and white are red's enemies. They tend to do things in a way that really irritates red, and generally, in order to achieve things that red doesn't want. In future installments of this show, I'm going to be talking about each of the colors on their own, and then eventually on the color pairs together, the stuff that I really love, and how they act when they both are inhabited at once. But we'll get there eventually. For now, let's keep focusing on the basics. Within the game, the colors are represented by multitudes of fantastical creatures and magic spells, and the lands from which the attributed mana is drawn. In our real world, however, you would be hard-pressed to materialize a Tarmogoyf to fight for you or fire a lightning bolt. from the sky on command. So for our purposes, the colors come out in much more subtle ways that one would need to deliberate upon to really derive any sense of it all. And that's part of why I wanted to make this video series, is because I really wanted to use my knowledge and sort of experience of the color wheel and extrapolating and analyzing and comparing it to real life to try and help make it more accessible to other people and easier for them to extrapolate upon their own everyday life. So let's start with the first color at the top of the wheel. White. There's so many freaking mouth clicks. I'm gonna hate listening to this. So in the game, this color is shown most commonly on creatures like angels, soldiers, humans, and spells that heal or protect or enact judgment. It's exciting to see these things depicted in dramatic, fantastical ways like that, but when you start to wonder, why are these things associated with that color in particular? That's where the philosophy comes in. Through the game's design process over the years, each color has been given a general theme or idea to help summarize what it wants and how it wants to get there. For white, that phrase is peace through order. Is this reversed? Peace through order. Now, what does that mean? It means that white wants to establish a utopia free from chaos, from evil, where everyone is provided for and wants for nothing, where everyone can live in peace. And it believes the best way to achieve that is through organization, through laws, hierarchies, bureaucracy, through structure, by establishing order. White wants to set up rules to be followed and make it clear what people need to do in order to achieve that utopia. Second on the list is blue. In-game, blue is represented by creatures like wizards and artificers and sphinxes and spells that draw you more cards, counter other spells, or freeze your opponent's creatures in place. Blue's ideology can be broadly summed up by the phrase, perfection through knowledge. Blue wants to become its best self and improve upon the world around it in order to reach peak efficiency and development. And it believes the best way to get there is through the accumulation of knowledge. Blue wants to learn everything it can so that it can use that knowledge to achieve the impossible. Things like universities and education, science and the scientific method, even athletics and bodybuilding are all very blue concepts and practices. Blue wants to be the best it can be, and it believes that everyone should strive to become their best self. Next up is black. Now don't be misled by the cracked skulls staring at you through empty sockets. This color isn't all about death and evil, even if white would want you to think so. Although in the game it is commonly represented by demons and zombies and necromancy and blood magic, and it uses mechanics like targeted removal and graveyard interaction and forcing opponents to discard. In reality, what black wants and does are very familiar to most of us. The summary phrase, power through ruthlessness, may work thematically for the purposes of a fantastical setting like magic, but perhaps reframing it as satisfaction through opportunity, now that would be much more manageable to the everyday Earth person. You see, what black truly believes in is individuality, in protecting its own agency. Black wants the power to make its own decisions, and isn't afraid to get dirty to ensure it. It prioritizes its own wants and needs over most everything else, and spends its life chasing its ambitions. When asked how they would make the world a better place, black would probably say it isn't bothered by what the rest of the world wants, so long as they don't get in its way. Black is cynical, practical, and a survivor. Fourth up, we have red. This color is displayed on dragons and goblins and elementals, and spells that deal direct damage or steal your opponent's creatures, or give you a temporary boost in resources. Red believes in freedom through action. Red sees all of those rules and societal boundaries people try to live within and sees them as distractions. It thinks they just get in the way of truly living life. Red wants to do what it wants when it wants, and it tries to live freely from moment to moment. It follows its heart above all else, confident that so long as it does that, it'll always be happy. Red is all about things like emotional expression, love and hate, acting on impulse, and chasing your desires. For us, red is often shown through artistic endeavors like visual arts, theater, film, poetry, or even more commonly, in our friendships, in our romance, empathy. Sure, red can be anger and destruction and fire, but it's also longing and tenderness and compassion. Red would put everything on the line for the sake of the people it cares about. But also, it loves to have fun. I mean, can you blame them? And finally, we have green, the color representative of nature and destiny. Green is often shown wielding beasts and elves and hydras. Mechanically, it likes to make creatures fight each other, or amass ever larger collections of land and mana, or make a few creatures big, or make a lot of little creatures. Green is always striving for harmony through acceptance, and believes the world was perfect as it was before we ever started messing with it. Green puts a lot of focus into tradition, destiny, instinct, and natural influences like growth, predation, and the natural order, or the circle of life, if you will. If you've ever heard someone say, everything happens for a reason, they're repeating a very green outlook on how the world works. Not to say that that's particularly correct or incorrect, but it's a very green ideology. Green feels that everyone has a purpose that they were born to fulfill, and that destiny and fate are very real factors in our lives, and that going against them is to fight against the universe itself. We see a lot of green influence in our world through things like nature preserves, conservation efforts, scientific observation, naturopathy, and holistic practices, and in cultures that revere their ancestors and prioritize family and tradition. Green thinks there is no need to squabble over resources. The world provides plenty enough for everyone. That there is no need to set arbitrary borders or enforce societal norms. Those things just further distance us from the truth of the world, and only feeds further into our unnatural ego as a species. I truly hope that some of this was helpful, insightful, or, honest to God, even just entertaining for you. As I said earlier, I really want to make more videos in the future on each of the colors individually, and then eventually into the color pairs, both ally and enemy, which is where the real juicy stuff is. And then, if this really gets out of hand, I'll start going into the shard colors, the wedge colors, hopefully even into the Nephilim 4-color combos, and then hypothesizing on 5-color versus colorless. We'll get there when we get there. Throughout this series, my goal is that my intent remains to make all of this color wheel mumbo jumbo that I really have a lot of passion for to be more applicable and accessible to folks that are interested in Magic, or the color wheel itself, the basic lore of the game, or even just those who love analyzing and overthinking the world around them, like myself. In conclusion, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It means a lot that you are enjoying my content, and hopefully you'll subscribe to my channel, find me on Twitch, follow me there, maybe leave a comment here on maybe leave a comment here on which color or color pair combination you're most looking forward to hearing myself compare to the world, and stick around for future installments, other general stuff generally related to MTG, although I am working on some adjacent sort of projects a bit. I got a lot of stuff in production, and even this has evolved from being just purely narration over visual editing to what it is this time. But yeah, I am really looking forward to further deep dives into the colors, which the next video, if this one gains enough traction, will be the deep dive into White's philosophy and beliefs specifically as we start going down the color wheel, which will be followed in turn by the rest of the colors until we get to the color pairs, which, as I said, I'm super excited for. Oh my god, I love color pairs. So, anyway, time to patent a send-off. Have a great day, everyone, and remember to be kind, be creative, and play games. See ya.